You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Welcome back to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Brandy Williams. Happy final week of Scorpio season. Jesus, Scorpio season. It has been a ride. What can I say about the astrology of the week ahead? There's a lot. It's going on with a bang. There is a transit pretty much every day of the week. And depending on how this is affecting you personally, hitting things in your own chart, the type of work you've been doing this year, could be a boat ride. It could feel like you're overturned in the swamp. I don't know. Just depends. But we're already in the energy. So let's get into it and it is going to be all right. Okay, Sunday, November 16th, we started the week off with the sun in Scorpio, trining Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. I feel like that was a very good start to the week. I didn't feel like all sunny and optimistic. I was very neutral, but you could have felt very confident, productive. There could have been a lot of self awareness going on, a lot of just thinking about emotional things, stuff from the past coming up, growing emotional awareness. I feel like yesterday we may have had a greater ability to ponder versus reacting to things for some of us. Some of us, this could have been very reactive because we did have a couple of transits to Chiron. So a lot of old wounds and sense of self stuff probably came up over the weekend. And some of us could have felt just a sense of optimism, confidence, gratitude, but also this impulse or urge to take action, to do something, to make some kind of big overhaul or change, or to address something without having all of the information. And if you kind of feel that urge this week, you really want to pause. This is a pause week. This is a new moon week. We are not wanting to take any fast, quick, big action this week. And we'll let that unfold. I'll tell you why. But we want to watch out first and foremost for emotional reactivity this week and the temptation to exert dominance or force over others, to put everybody in their place, to cut everybody off. And we want to instead tap into our confident, quiet power. There's so much that can be conveyed with silence. Oftentimes it's the strongest person in the room who is, in fact, the quietest person in the room because what's understood don't have to be explained. Okay. So now, Monday, November 17th, the sun in Scorpio is trining Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And this is a serious look at the things that we're committed to. This is us reviewing and looking at the way our lives are set up, the things that we are a part of, the way that we have our life structured, our habits, and what thing today could feel like it's no longer working? What is the thing that's feeling like this is draining? This is no longer cool. I don't really want to do this anymore. I don't really like this setup, or I'm not, my day or my routine is not really setting me up for the best version of myself. What thing do I need to change? So we could be sitting with questions this week of, why am I doing this? Is this really working for me? Has this reaction or the way I respond to something reached its expiration date? Has this interaction with this particular person or me being in this particular setting reached its expiration date? And instead of forging ahead, quitting, cutting people off, breaking up with people, doing the big chop, we want to determine what small action steps can we take to build this long-term momentum and to put our lives on the trajectory that we want it to be versus trying to make all that happen today. November 17th, we're going to also see Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, sextile Pluto in Aquarius. And this is really good for coming into stillness. This is a very good investigative type of energy. Perhaps we start Monday off in a reflective state of mind where we are journaling or meditating, really paying attention to our inner drives and our motives, what things want to change, what part of something do we want to redo? Where are we wanting to change something up? It's kind of mimicking this Sun trine Saturn transit, but we don't want to make big cuts and decisions because Mercury is retrograde. That is a time of pause. All the outer planets mostly are retrograded as well. So we are in this review. But if we feel like, listen, I need to do something, I need to make this decision now, I just want us to be open and adaptable to having to redo something or having to start over with something. You just want to pack your patience if you are feeling the urge to take a big action step this week. Now, one of the main reasons why we want to go slow about things is because the sun is going to be in opposition, like all the planets pretty much in Scorpio right now are in opposition to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And that is bringing a very destabilizing quality to our nervous systems. We could experience shocking, stressful, overwhelming situations, but we also are going to um, feel this sense of urgency. And we don't want to make decisions in urgency because we often make mistakes. There could be accidents, there could be foot in the mouth situations, and us having to redo something. So we really want to pause and ground the energy that could feel very destabilizing, which is hard to do because when we're talking about Uranus and Taurus, we're often talking about money and things that we feel like we need to survive. Okay. Tuesday, November 18th, Mercury is going to re enter the sign of Scorpio. This is going to have us in a strange mood. I feel like by Tuesday, some of us could feel pretty moody, back into a very low key internal process. We could also feel a big swell of emotion starting to, grow, reflecting on fears and money situations, relationships, and how we are navigating life right now, why some things are feeling hard to contend with right now. And by Wednesday, the 19th, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is going to oppose Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Now, this is a day where by Wednesday things feel a little thick. I feel like there's going to be like these faded situations happening, like, okay, that had to be fate, and that could be amazing. This could also be like a quick money situation or opportunity that just feels huge, and it could feel overwhelming because Mercury is the mind, it's in review, it's opposing Uranus, that's the nervous system, and it's in Taurus, so we know we're talking about self-worth, resources, stability, our financial stability, and things like that. Something could feel very destabilizing by Wednesday. The mind could be doing the absolute most. We could feel very overwhelmed by all of the chatter that's happening. It could be something in the news, people talking, kids talking, people wanting to talk about their process this week. There could be a situation that makes us where we have to consider some kind of pivot or a course correction that could be definitely that could have something to do with money, travel, transactions, banks. So Uranus goes both ways, so it's a wild card energy. But nonetheless, I feel like the nervous system has a good chance of being taxed. So we just want to be able to get by some water. We want to be able to get in a bath, ground, put on some really nice water fountain videos on YouTube. Some type of water is going to really help us this week. Just being in a meditative quiet space, and we want to do that for ourselves and get quiet, because if we don't, we're going to have a very big anxiety buildup where we are more prone to misunderstandings, miscommunications, hearing people and taking people wrong, taking people's tones wrong, people taking your tone wrong because you're overwhelmed and you're being sharp. There could be a lot of projections coming from us or towards us because there are other people who are overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed, but this is also bringing up some type of savviness and some type of ability to be financially creative. This is what we call making a dollar out of 15 cents. We might have to make something stretch this week. We might have to make something shake. Either way, we just want to stick together and not turn on our people. Let's keep it light and flexible. We want to stay open, stay curious, and try to listen to others to understand versus responding. Really notice if you are in your first player character and see if you can jump out of that and just be a witness in an interaction with another person this week. Now, later on, we're going to see Mercury retrograde in Scorpio trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so by now we are dealing with the floodgates coming in. There is something that we may no longer be able to contain. There are feelings that are going to come up. This is an ugly cry. So much water. And I feel like this is kind of the remedy of listening to understand versus listening to respond. This is a beautiful opportunity to listen with empathy and have more compassion for ourselves and for other people, forgive ourselves for the way we could have acted previously, things coming up from beneath the surface, masks and walls dissolving, no longer being able to play hard, play it safe. There's a flood of emotion coming. We can feel intensely sad or intensely nostalgic and compassionate, but mostly vulnerable. Like, this is a time where we're really going to have to accept our vulnerable humanity. And perhaps the more we can accept that about ourselves, the more we can accept the humanness in other people. By all means, get by some water, drink water. You want to hydrate this week. I need to hydrate right now. Drink some water, be by the water, touch some water. Let water heal you. Let water be healing for your soul this week, and forgive yourself and other people for being human. And so by Thursday, November 20th, we have a new moon in Scorpio that is going to merge with a Mercury Kazemi, and we'll break that down. So the sun and moon are going to be together. The sun and Mercury are going to be together. Mercury is going to be in the heart of the sun. That is known as a Kazemi, where Mercury has retrograded back and fell into the arms of the sun to be, illuminated, and so that he can tell us some things that we're not seeing about ourselves. And for the rest of the year, the new moons are going to occur at the end of the sign. So at 28 degrees of Scorpio, the new moon, which is all about beginnings, is actually planting a seed that could be a beginning of some type of end. So this is Scorpio. It's ugly, it's nasty, it's in the bowels of the swamp. There is a deep transformation taking place. There are protective layers shedding, even though we're not ready, because we don't want people to see us like that. We don't need people to know us like that. That shedding is taking place from the inside out. You are being brought deep into some shit inside of yourself. You are being shown parts of yourself that you didn't know, that you didn't want to know, that you didn't believe, that you tried to forget. And it's very uncomfortable. You could feel exposed. You could be in fight mode because you're not trying to be known like that. You have a facade to keep up, but that facade has dissolved. But most people who have these facades and really need to protect themselves because they had to build them from situations that violated them have a very intense ability to fight. So we could feel or see people being very defensive and callous, really hard on the exterior as they try to protect some type of deep, tender emotion or fear that they are afraid of being exposed. And, we are feeling vulnerable, and a lot of people don't do well with feeling vulnerable because it's the vulnerability that was taken advantage of. And so this is a very scary place to be in this week for a lot of people. But, whether we're ready or not, there is a shed, there is a transformation. This new moon is opposing Uranus retrograde in Taurus. It's shaking us out of some type of comfort zone, and it's shaking us out of this hyper independence. Perhaps this is the time where we're going to have to ask for help. We're going to have to let somebody know that we don't have it all together. This is taking us out of comfort zones, but this is also revealing us to ourselves. This is the act of shedding the mask to ourselves, because when we build these prisons and walls and facades, we end up believing the mask, and the mask is dissolving. You are this type of way when you get scared. You are this type of way when you are feeling mistrusting and skeptical about people, right? You go into fight mode, and it's time to own that part of who you are and stop trying to play it cool, because you can no longer lie to yourself about how you feel and what type of mechanisms and strategies and habits that you turn to escape certain emotions and certain processes. What type of attachments do you have that is getting in the way of you getting the things you say you want, right? Trying to pretend you don't feel something is no longer going to work. trying to smoke it away, sex it away, lift it away, run it away, not gonna work this week. It's gonna just overwhelm you even more. This is a week like all new moon weeks where you just gotta stop. You gotta stop doing all the things. You have to welcome the stillness because that is where the answers are. You are trying to build things with step 1 and 2, and step 3, 4, and 5 is in the stillness, and then you got step 8 and 9. So you don't have all the information because some of the information that you need is in the quiet place, it's in the dark, it is in your nervous system when the nervous system is grounded, it is in your intuition, it is with your higher self that you can't access until you stop, until you put the phone down, put that book down, put that broom down. You don't need to dust nothing else. Put them snacks down, put that alcohol down, and get comfortable with being in your own presence, right? It's Scorpio. It is heavy. It is overwhelming. It does hurt. I know you feel like you don't have time for this, but you have time. You got to make time because the things that you're doing is just putting you on a hamster wheel. You're spinning around in circles in this one situation, and it's making you more and more unhappy. You're wanting to isolate yourself more and more, not because everybody else gets on your nerves, but it's because there's something that you don't want to touch. And this Scorpio new moon is saying you got to touch that thing and you got to feel it so that you can go and extract your full power, because the parts of you that are disconnected is where your power is, and you won't get to this next level that you want to get to, this love life, this business person, this person who has their full power and control of their own psyche and nervous system, this feeling of joy, this feeling of peace, this feeling of freedom, you won't be able to access that until you feel something, until you sit through something, until you let the facades go, until you liberate yourself out of your own personal hell, out of your own personal prison that you tried to block everybody else out of, but you actually encapsulated yourself. And this is where we are getting free, and it's ugly and it's nasty and it's stank and it's very, very difficult because there's so many years of protective layers, that were built that are being torn down, and we're not even ready for that. We didn't even sign off on that. That's just the universe saying, it's time to shed. This is the year of the snake. So you want to let the facades, the codependencies, you want to let something go. You want to release something. It's going to be away from you anyway, whether it's a health situation, whether it is, people seeing themselves out. There are things that are happening, that we don't get to sign off on actually. So, let that transformation happen. Don't be afraid to seek professional support. I want to give a little bit more insight to Mercury Kazemi, the Mercury retrograde Kazemi at 28 degrees of Scorpio. This is our ego and our life's purpose and our life's direction coming into question, under review. Do I still want to do this? Is this still the way? There could be a lot of things being set off. When it comes to our ego, when it comes to the things that we want to do, that we could feel extremely frustrated about, like we don't have time for. Why does this keep happening? Why does she keep saying this? You've been saying this all year. Pivot, pivot, we got to do this. Something is happening. This is not the way. But, ever since Saturn went into Aries and now it's retrograde. It came back out into Pisces. I told you it wasn't going to be no skip steps. Saturn literally came back into Pisces a month ago so that we could end something, so that we could release something. And this is, it's very hard for us to really detach and let things go, even when we know we need to. So there are masks are falling off, the protective attachments are falling away, things are no longer a fit, and that is what's happening. We are being guided layer by layer to release something, to release these unconscious parts of ourselves and the way we act when we feel afraid, and the parts of us that are not authentic, but the parts of us that we feel like we had to develop to protect ourselves from the outside world. We are not remembering that those are facades, and we are taking that with us as if it's a part of us, and we can't get in some of the doors that we want to get into. We can't be in some of the connections and the relationships that we want to be into until we drop that mask, drop the mask at the door. because you no longer need that. You have your own inner power, and that is what we've been cultivating all year. Some of us can expect to feel like this ugly, visceral fight from the inside out as we struggle, with this transformation. There could be a strong urge to fight and to resist and to project it onto other people. We could feel exposed. We could feel undone. We could feel like people got the drop on us. This could be a very mental and emotionally unstable, unstabling transit. We could be cool though, and we could, be already, be going through our process. I know I've been through so many waves of mental instability. And, so this week we could be actually seeing other people feeling that way. And because we already know it, it's like we want to have grace and humility and compassion for other people versus judging them on their process. We're all on the same road, walking each other home, and it's so easy. And sometimes it feels good to point out what somebody else is doing wrong. But we were just there about 24 hours ago. We was there last week. We already know what that feels like when we're trying to unlearn some of these defense mechanisms. So, can we be compassionate and can we, be gentle with other people? And please also be gentle with yourself as you are going through a lot of things this week. We also have on the 20th Uranus retrograde in Taurus, sextiling Neptune retrograde in Pisces. That's kind of a rare transit because these two planets are not often in a position where they are 60 degrees away from each other. So there could be some type of situation this week, some type of collective situation that is bringing up fears about the future. There could be money stuff going on, stuff in politics, stuff with travel, stuff with water, weather things, just some type of news, shocking information going on. And we could feel this sense of urgency. We could feel like, we need to make a fast decision. There could be some type of fear coming up, but this is why we want to continue to work with the stillness and tap into our intuition because there are entities in the world. First off, this is the matrix. If you don't know by now, baby, this is the matrix. You in a whole simulation. None of this shit is real. And the media and social media, they have incentive to make you afraid because whatever can put fear into you is what controls you. Okay. And so this is where you want to tap into the intuition and listen to the quiet knowing that's inside of you that you can't access until you get still, until you get grounded, until you can come into the deep breathing and access that third eye. This is a time where we are under review of how we spend money, of how we manage money, the delusions of self that could be coming up this week, not for us to judge, but we're viewing the way that our values and beliefs and ideas have changed over the past 7 to 11 years when Uranus first went into Taurus and Neptune first went into Pisces. Friday, October 21st, the sun in Scorpio it's in its exact opposition to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And then the sun in Scorpio is going to trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So, first off, there is some type of reality check. There is something that is shaking us out of our own delusional ways of thinking, shaking us up out of some type of comfort zone. The way we've been spending money, the way we've been handling money is changing. Too much trust in the government, really thinking that they're telling us the truth about stuff and they're not. This could be shaking us up personally out of some type of default habitual behavior, some sort of thing or habit or attachment we keep going back to is going to be destabilized for us. So there is something that the universe is asking us to stop doing over and over, but expecting a different result. We want to be aware of making rush decisions, though, with this transit because we are going to feel overwhelmed and impulsive. And we just want to really ask ourselves, like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing the patterns? Are you seeing the way that you respond to certain things when they don't go your way? Are you noticing reactiveness, not to judge yourself, but just to have that self awareness this week? This is not a good day to have serious discussions. This is going to be a very tense day. There will be misunderstandings. It will be hard not to fly off the handles. It will be hard to hold your composure today. Don't have the conversation. We're going to, let's table it to the weekend. This is also a fool's rush in transit. It's not a good time to make a fast, hasty decision to pull your money out of things and make big financial decisions, or just making a rush decision is not a good idea this week. You want to go it slow and steady. The patient people are really going to be the ones to win this week. And, we could just really focus on the small steps. What is one small action step that we could do or that we can avoid doing that could give us a different result? Now, November 21st, going to have the sun enter the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius, come get us. Come get us. Happy birthday, Sag. Yay, we are out of the trenches. We are out of Scorpio season, and God knows I love a good Scorpio season. I like when it gets deep and emotionally cathartic, but damn, this was a ride. I know that there are some people who really were feeling the things this Scorpio season, but now we're in Sag. Things are going to hopefully start feeling a little bit lighter. We are going to be like, all right, I'm up, I'm catching flights, not feelings. What we about to do? How am I about to take this new transformation it to the next level? There could be exciting insights. There could be a sense of relief. Maybe we are out of a situation that, maybe it ended bittersweet, but now that it's over, it's like, yay, I'm feeling the freedom. I'm feeling all the vibes, and I'm feeling just this newness about myself. We're also going to have Mercury retrograde in Scorpio trining Saturn retrograde in Pisces and Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. All these retrograde planets, we in review. It's not time to take action and do all the big things just yet. We're in review. Communication is going to get better. This is a little rainbow at the end of a stormy week. For some of us, it's stormy. For some of us, it's fine. Now, some of us could still be in our feelings and feeling very antisocial or just not very social. But like I said, there's some sort of ending by the end of the week that's going to bring some sort of relief, or maybe there's a clearing of the air. Maybe there is this vulnerable moment of, what, I'm feeling this way or that way or whatever, and this is people coming together with mutual understanding and saying like, I know, friend. And we are just reconnecting to our people and getting the people who get us and just having a bonded moment. This is also an excellent day for any missed work due to any kind of foolishness and calamities that were going on during the week. This is a good time for making future plans. This is a good time for making new business strategies and business plans, revising our day-to-day schedules, reorganizing something around the house, restructuring something, and just really getting our house in order. This is also a good time to put that discussion back on the table, have a serious conversation because we are a little bit more stable in the mind by Sunday. Oh, guys, that's it. That is it. Holy smokes. Yes, week is a lot. It could be a lot. We could feel a lot. Trust your intuition. Be low key if you have to be low key. Listen to understand and not to respond. Watch out for reactivity. Forgive yourself for being human and being in your villain era if that applies. If it doesn't, let it fly. Don't rush ahead. Sit in the fears because the fears ain't gonna take you out. They just feel like shit. Be patient, take care of yourself, take care of each other. I love you, and bye for now. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.